Hey, calm down, this is coffee. Sometimes I need it when a movie bores me to sleep. So Mulan is Disney's newest attempt to take an animation from their library and bleed all the soul, joy, and life out of it and give us a live-action adaptation of it. And it being Disney's live-action adaptation of Disney's animated Mulan is very much the same story, just like The Lion King and more than a couple ways. Mulan's the daughter of a house, her father has no sons, and then a man from every house needs to get drafted to fight in this war because war is now, in fact, upon them. So it falls to Mulan's dad, who has a limp. He's clearly gonna get wasted in like 2 seconds in war. So she's like, I'm gonna pose as a dude and enter the army, which that'll cause a lot of problems for her and her house, her family, all of it. But she does it because that's what heroes do. And enter a much less enjoyable version of Mulan. This is one of those movies, if you see people out there reviewing this movie, they're like, well, the visuals are great. And it did for some of it. Some of the scenery was great, like some of the fighting, well, I mean, at the end of the movie, which is otherwise I call the part where shit actually starts to happen. Point is, it was entertaining and the scenery looked great when you couldn't tell that it was a green screen and or CGI. The scenes you could. I was like, man, among your 5-month hiatus, did you not have the time to finish the CGI? Okay. It happens a lot. Granted, a lot of movies have a lot of green screen and CGI, but the trick is to not let the audience know it. But really, the problem is the supporting characters, the charm, the charisma of the general interactions with the characters. Getting right to it, Eddie Murphy's character in the animated Mulan, the little dragon, he's not in it. I mean, well, there's not a dragon. There's a phoenix that kind of vaguely shows up once in a while to kind of fly in the general direction she needs to go. So yes, they took this character from the animation that interjected this fun, vigor, this life, this humor, this vibrance into the movie, and they turned that character into a phoenix waypoint from a video game that vaguely flies in a general direction once in a while. Never talks, just does that. That's it. I mean, I don't know what term that is the opposite of brilliant I want to use in this situation. Dumb as fuck is the one I'm leaning to currently. It just wasn't smart. I'm not directly comparing to the genie in Aladdin because Robin Williams as the genie in Aladdin is top tier godhood. But it kind of felt like doing Aladdin without the genie. Eddie Murphy, his character brought something to the Mulan animation. If I look back on that movie, it's not 100%, but there is a large portion of the charm and energy and enjoyment I have in that movie comes from that character somehow. Also, the original animation being about a half an hour shorter had much better time management. Like I said, generally the same stuff happens in the live action movie as the animation, just the live action movie is a half an hour longer, which means they're just drawing it out. You're sitting there going, look, you're just inflating the runtime. I can feel it. Even for the villains. Well, this is kind of spoilerish territory, but keep this in mind. I just dropped $30 to be bored out of my skull, so I kind of don't care. If you care, I understand this is where you kind of dip out of this video and you peace out. But if you don't care, great. We can not care together, and here's what I have to say about the villain. That's right, there are 2 villains in this movie. You have the villain from the Mulan animation, who should be main villain. Then you have the actual villain in this live action version, which, you know, the main villain's Hawk. Well, that Hawk is a witch lady. So Lady Hawk is this really mean witch lady, and she is to a point until she's, I guess, not anymore because, I don't know, she likes Mulan. They concentrated on this new villain so much, and it seemed like the only reason they did is to have her give Mulan that you go girl moment. And so Mulan's like, you're right, I'm not gonna live this line. So she sheds her armor and she goes out to battle and she basically blows the whistle on herself. Which, just logistically speaking, that's just not smart. It isn't. And I get it, you want to send a message to 2020, don't hide who you are, you know, be yourself. I know. But you have to have it make sense for the story and the characters, and it just didn't. Plus, I think the way the animated version did it had a lesson in and of itself. No matter what lie you're living, eventually it will come to the surface. That's pretty important. Good things to know. Lessons taught, lessons received. So then in the end, evil Lady Hawk is like, hey, by the way, I'm gonna take an arrow from Mulan. Cause she listened to my girl power speech and, you know, I like her now. And by the time it's like, all right, showdown with this guy, you're just like,
I don't even know who you are.
Nor do you care. Granted, I know that there are Mulan stories that predate the Disney Mulan story, so I don't know if those stories have a witch lady. But it's not whether or not you have two villains, it's whether or not you have balance in your antagonist. And this movie just didn't find balance. I mean, the villain in the animated Mulan, he doesn't stand out in terms of personality as much as some of the other Disney villains do, but he was still menacing as hell and he did stand out as the villain. If you're gonna do that, you gotta make it better. In fact, if you're gonna make a live animation, you have to justify its existence at all. And in the end, this movie it didn't. Basically, Disney does exactly what you think Disney would do for the live action Mulan. It's as simple as I can put it. I mean, a live action Mulan actually does lend itself to them doing some pretty great things. But it's so similar to the animation with nothing that made the animation endearing, charming, generally enjoyable. I'm sure someone's gonna like pass it off as like, well, it's darker. It's not really darker. It's just more boring. I mean, animated Mulan was pretty dark. The scene where those two messengers are running away and big bad guy's like, how many does it take to send a message? And one dude just draws his arrow and it goes black. You're like, whoa. Oh, wow. Something about the implication. This movie doesn't have any of that. Bringing up another point that the animation did better. That, you know, that scene where they're all like, it's a musical number and they're in the snow. And then all of a sudden, ho, when they come across this burned town and things just destroyed. That sudden stop, change, shift in energy. That was really impactful. It was very effectively done. In this movie, they just kind of stroll up onto it and, oh yeah, there's a burned town. It's what happens in war. It's just one example, yeah, but it's one example that's fresh in my mind that illustrates the point that the live action movies, not just Mulan, but some of the other ones, they're going through the motions, but they're not really doing it as well as the animated original. Disney is, and Mulan proves it, Disney's the cover of that Fatboy Slim album. One thing that embodies the entire mindset of Disney itself, it's that. Mulan, actually, it's the nail in the coffin at this point. Between Lion King and Mulan, I now actively do not look forward to Disney live-action adaptations of their animations. There was a time where I was like, all right, these are pretty good. Not anymore. The animations at this point remain far superior, and I'm not going to remember this movie in T-1 day. Yep, already forgot. You're welcome for the $30, dicks. All right, so Mulan, the live-action version. Did you spend 30 extra bucks on top of your Disney Plus subscription to watch it, or were you just waiting for some dumb asshole like me to do it? It's all right. I understand this is what I do after all. I knew I was going to take this hit. But whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.